All right, me and Jimmy are joined by two failed shortstops from the Twins organization, Trevor Plouffe and Brian Dozier. I told you I was going to come in hot. I guess I could have gone World Series champ. I could have gone a lot of ways with it, but Brian, how you doing, dude?
Good. Thank you guys for having me. Failed shortstop, yes, 100%.
Yes, both of us, baby. It's okay.
We were looking at the game logs. It's funny because 11, Plouffe comes up, they ride him at short, and then they're like, nah. And then 12, you came up, you replaced Jamie Carroll, who was 38, playing shortstop, and then back up next year as second baseman and been there ever since. We were like, man, they were really searching for shortstops.
Do you guys have a new appreciation for Jamie Carroll picking it at short at 38 or what?
Yeah, so I came in and they moved him to second base. And then they saw that I was so bad, they moved a 39-year-old back to short. So yeah,
it's true. It gives you a real appreciation for what like he did. JJ Hardy, all these guys are able to stay at that position, man. Like, you know, not only earlier in their careers they had like the range and stuff, but what really separated those guys and like allowed them to do it was like the positioning and like the anticipation. Like those guys were so good at that. Like they were where they needed to be. And this was before teams would print out like exactly where you need to stand. They were doing that on their own just by like their own baseball acumen. It was awesome to see.
Yeah. How are you doing with the quarantine and everything? We talked a little bit before, but you said you're chilling in Mississippi, a little golf, a little what else?
Yeah, so we drove back from Arizona, about a 22-hour drive. My wife and I thought that it would be we have a 7-month-old and it wouldn't be the best to get her on a bird and come back. So we drove and we didn't even stop to sleep. We just right through the night put the kid in the back and let her cry for 20 hours and we just turned the music up and we made it back. But we're just chilling. We kind of when my first few days we didn't take it all that serious. We were still like going to play golf with the guys and still going out for lunch and stuff. But now it's kind of the last week or two, it's been full lockdown mode. And you find out a lot about you and your family whenever you can't leave them for a little bit. But it's good.
Yeah, the guys that we've been talking to, like Jack Flaherty said he's searching for a hobby. And then who was it? Kipnis was like, yeah, working out sucks because I feel like I have to work out, but like home workouts blow. And he had a yoga mat and some 8-pound weights. What you just said you did doing a workout. Is this like something you've been doing, or you and the missus searching for things to do?
The honest truth, the very first workout I did, I was on my back porch. My wife had her yoga mat. I get out there. We have no weights at the house whatsoever. So I'm like digging through the garage to try to find something to like lift. The only thing I could find, I had a half-full propane tank, and I was doing like and like shoulder presses and stuff, holding it above my head and doing squats. It was bad. But then a gym that I work out, they said I can go up there and get some weights. So my wife picked them up this morning. So I got dumbbells here.
There you go.
Because they're all out at like academy and stuff. So
thinking about you like lifting a propane tank is the most Mississippi thing I've ever heard.
I wish I had a video. I had my shirt off, my dad bod going, everything. So,
oh man,
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, let's. I mean, you guys go way back on the way back at this point. You guys came up through the Twins org. I obviously made my bad joke. But, I mean, you guys ran the infield there for a little while. What are your guys' early stories? I mean, did you hate the Cali first-round pick or what?
He was a little flashy at the Cali. He had the Cali goal. It still does. He look at it. That's beauty. But no, Trevor and I have always been close friends. From day one, I remember him and Anthony Swarzak kind of took me and Kumo, remember him?
Yeah.
Kind of under their wings and kind of through our rookie year and kind of showed us the ropes and everything. So it's been good.
I remember Delman Young talking about you, and you like come up. I don't think you were in spring training at the time, but you were doing like the back and forth thing. And he's like, man, this kid Dozier, he's like, I remember this. He said, he's Marco Scudero, but he can hit. And I was like, dude, Marco Scudero is a pretty damn good player. And then you came up, and you were in the shortstop. And, I knew you were a good player, but I didn't think you develop into the best power hitting second baseman in Twins history. I got to be honest with you. And then sure enough, you did. And it was really cool. I had like a front row seat to all of that, especially in 2016 when you hit, what would you hit, 42?
42, yeah.
It was incredible. It really was cool to see. And that was, I was doing that research on you, and I remember that year. It was my last year with the Twins. And not a funny story, but kind of a cool thing about that year is you started out like horribly.
Terrible.
And
Terry Ryan was one to send me a AAA in May.
Wow. I remember that. So we were in Kansas City, and I remember them talking, and there was like some whispers around the clubhouse that Brian Dozier, an all-star in 2015, like one of our leaders of the team, might go to AAA. And I was like, this is crazy. And Molitor took you aside, and he said, I don't know what he said to you, but you can tell us this. But he said, basically, we're in Kansas City. You're not playing this whole series.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, sit down, watch the game, take a mental break, and we'll go from there. And you did. And then after that, it was like go time.
Yeah. So I thought I really was going to AAA. Terry Ryan actually mentioned, he pulled me aside and said, hey, you better get your shit together. You're going down to AAA. And so that series, it was against Kansas City. I can't believe you remember that. Or did you look?
I remember, yeah.
Really good. But yeah, it's Kansas City, and he said, I'm not playing any of the games. And it was a 4-game set, and I ended up playing the fourth one. And I remember my first at bat, Nunez led off with a homer. I led off with a homer. And I guess I just needed we all need a little humbling in the game. So that's what I need to you.
Damn.
I mean, there was all second half. It was like, I remember it was like a crazy second half surge, right? What was, because you ended up with 42. They couldn't have all been second half. But when you're in the middle of that, is there any like AAA, fuck you?
No, absolutely. I think once I kind of finally turned it around and you started getting back on the track and stuff, everything started, I guess, looking up and no more AAA talks and all that. You kind of got that behind you. But I remember it being like a really cool feeling with all the homers coming in bunches and all that kind of stuff. But we were the worst team in baseball, so it was kind of Trev, you remember, it was almost 100 losses, and it was so bad how we were playing and stuff. So it's kind of the way in the homers versus playing really bad, and so, but it was still pretty cool.
Well,
it was really cool.
And I guess I should ask this to every Major League Baseball player. I was going to say, how do you get there? But it was kind of what Trevor said before is, I mean, middle infielders for years were not looked at as power hitters or anything like that. And you do end up, you're hitting 40, you get MVP votes in like 3 straight seasons. I mean, were you just a 1% better every day kind of guy? Or was it once you started hitting a couple out, you started turning your focus at? Or how did your kind of game develop into what it is?
You know what? I owe a lot to Tom Brunansky. He, from college till really my rookie year, I was always a slap single guy, trying to be a high average and get on base and not much power at all. Then Tom Brunansky, we actually playing golf together, and I was driving it a long way, and he's like, dude, why can't you freaking hit a baseball, anything like this? And I was like, well, I don't know. And so literally that next day, we get to the park early, and he starts teaching me how to use my legs and my hips in order to create power like you do in a golf swing. And I remember just sitting out there days on days, just taking a fungo and just throwing the ball up to myself and just trying to hit the ball out to left field every time. He's like, don't even think about right field, because I was always inside out, punching Judy right field. And he's like, don't even think about right field. Just try to hit the ball out every time to left field. And it's like went against everything I was ever taught, everything that the Twins had ever taught me.
Yes.
So I was like kind of flirting with, oh gosh, this is about to go south really quick or be really good. And finally got my whole approach to the day is try to get the ball in the left field.
That mirrors like a lot of stories you hear, the swing revolution we've had where it's like, oh, get your A swing off as much as possible. Let's see if we can get him back.
Yeah, he's reconnecting. But yeah, no, I could talk about that. The Twins for a long time were that like hit the ball the opposite way, like be a tough at bat, like just put the ball in play type organization. And that just doesn't play in today's game. So for Bernansky to talk about golf was pretty cool because we weren't really using technology at that point like they're using now. And like I think I referenced on the show before, a lot of the baseball lingo and the technology comes from golf. So it really does make a lot of sense. And I even remember Jim Thome, way back in the day, he told me when he had his best offensive seasons, it was him playing a lot of golf. And he said, I'd play every day, and a lot of people would say, oh, it's going to mess up your baseball swing. And he said, opposite of that. Like, I think it helps your baseball swing. It keeps you centered over the ball. Like Dozier's talking about, it makes you use your legs. And you just kind of learn a lot of things about your swing when you swing a golf club. I think any baseball player will tell you that. So to kind of combine those two things is really kind of ahead of the curve and obviously helped Dozier out a ton.
Yeah, we'll see if he comes back. That answer itself is just not something you expect to hear. Like, how did you become the home run hitter? Well, I took my golf swing and then I took fungo and just did self toss and tried to hit bombs. That seems like, I mean, like if a high school coach told a kid that, I think the dad would be like, what the fuck?
That's the thing is, just kind of it's got to click for you. You know, there's a lot of different cues for different guys. You know, a lot of the hitting Twitter people, like they think they have the one answer, and if you do this, you're going to be successful. But that's just not the case, and you see it time and time again. You hear it time and time again from big league guys. It's like, I tried this and it worked, or I tried this and it didn't work, and it's all about how it clicks for you. And like Brian used to do a bunch of weird throws.
Hey,
we got him back.
There he is. We're back. All right, after some technical difficulties, we're back. Dozier, I want to get into some fun stuff. The postseason, World Series, 2 World Series in a row for you, and last year was was crazy. I mean, because there's so much I want to talk about. The Davey Martinez getting ejected and that whole saga. You had like a front row seat to one of the wildest moments in World Series history because a manager hasn't been ejected in forever. Were you just watching back and kind of taking that all in, or were you actively like mad and yelling on the bench as well?
Well, everyone was kind of mad because, I mean, you know, we could see it perfectly how Trey was running. It was kind of weird because I was on the top step and our general manager, Rizzo, was right behind us, the first row. So he was like relaying to me what to tell the coaches of like during the whole thing. So I'm like looking back at him, he's telling me to do this. And it was just like I don't know. And I don't know if you know the like real story. Apparently, the reason Davey got thrown out was not because of arguing the thing. The umpire told Davey to get control of his dugout.
Oh.
And then Davey basically said, "Don't tell me what to do with my dugout." Yeah. And that's why he got mad. So it wasn't the rule and if he's out or safe or any of that kind of stuff. So I think, and that's out there. So I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but that was the whole debacle and everything. But it's one of the worst plays in baseball. It's one of the worst rules. You ask a guy to run on the outside and then come right back in, and it's like it's the dumbest thing ever. They got to change it, and the rest of this stuff starts happening. What we didn't like is the fact that when you usually see that, the ball is like right in front of home plate. This ball was up the third base line. Like it wasn't even like so it's like, okay, it's not even like interfering with anybody. So
yeah, that was crazy. What a crazy call. You guys are heroes, by the way. I mean, if the Astros had went on to win the World Series, I mean, it wouldn't be the same. Like the fact that you guys came back and won it, I mean, that changed everything for everyone. It made everyone very happy, especially in retrospect.
Oh, definitely in retrospect.
Were you always a shirts off guy, or did that just happen and you just kept the ball rolling on it? Like how'd that play out?
It was always a what guy?
A shirts off guy, because I mean,
no shirt.
Shirt off.
Yeah.
No. So
Trevor's saying yes. Trevor's saying yes.
You've always been a shirt off guy in the clubhouse. My goodness.
Hey, so how that came about is and I could tell you guys. So when we were like one of the worst teams in May, we were like 17-40 or something. Our team, what made it so unique is we're the oldest team in baseball by far, a bunch of veterans, guys that's been in the trenches, guys that's done well, whatever. So it's like nothing ever phased us. And so the whole month of April and May, every interview was like, why are you guys still dancing in the clubhouse and having fun? And we're like, nothing really phases us. It'll turn around. So in late May, I started doing this thing after every win that involved my shirt off.
Sure.
A lot more than my shirt, but it involved my shirt off. I was doing it for the boys. And it became a thing after every win. And we started running off a bunch of wins in a row. So I had to keep doing it, right? And it became a thing where I kept adding more things to it. But so sure enough, so I did it all the way up until the end. But when we clinched, I was doing everything before the media came in. And then when they came in, I still had just my shirt off. Everything else had been put back on, per se. And so I was about to put my shirt on, and all the guys, I remember Sturgeon always like, leave it off, let's go. So I was like, all right, it's morning. And so I left it off. And then, so sure enough, after we kept winning in the playoffs, I had to keep the shirt off. So it became a thing. And then obviously once the parade started and, everybody on the parade and making me take my shirt off. And so it was, my wife had enough. It was good.
You joined a list of guys who have just taken over World Series parades. So it's like you, Napoli. Who's the guy from the Cavs that was doing J.R. Smith?
Yeah.
J.R. Smith.
He had no shirt on forever. There's a hockey guy that was just like going crazy. You joined that list, and that's a great list to be on. I mean, to accomplish that and then to be like the face of the party.
Well,
got to say I loved it.
Well, the parade started like noon, and we started drinking at 8. So only good things would happen. So I knew. I remember my wife, Renee. She was after the whole parade. She pulled me aside. She said, "That's enough. That's enough for that kind of stuff." And we get on stage, and all the wives are in the front, and we're walking up to the stage. She's like, whatever you do on stage, no shirt, do not take it off. I got today. Well, we get up there and freaking Anibal Sanchez in front of everybody. He's like, "Take it off now." I look at my wife, and she's just like, she gives me the stare, and I got to give the boys what they want, babe. So I had to take it off. So it was good.
That's awesome.
Easier to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. Is that the saying?
Yes, that's the saying. Yeah. That Nationals team, you guys had a lot of things. Like that was your thing. You had the hugs, Strasburg getting hugs, all the hugs. You had Baby Shark, even Soto, the Soto Shuffle. Like it felt like that whole squad was just Kendrick one big inside party.
Eaton.
The
car thing.
The Howie and Adam. Yeah, they everyone kind of had their own thing, but it was everybody's thing. Even in the locker room, we would do some stuff with Strasburg after he would pitch every time and get a win and stuff. There's a lot of things that we like to have a lot of fun. I think it's a straight correlation to being the oldest team in baseball. There's something to be said about some veterans being in a clubhouse.
Did Rendon have a thing, or was his thing that he has no things? He just not even a pulse?
Yeah, his thing is that he doesn't have too much of nothing.
He just rakes.
He's a very he does rake, but he's not like he's a shy guy either. Very outgoing. He just very mellow and stuff. But he wouldn't show too much outside, but in the clubhouse he would do some stuff.
Yeah, and on the field he did some stuff too. It's like
every
at bat after the 7th inning was a double or a home run. That was insane.
Oh, no kidding.
You ever thought about?
Can I ask you? Go ahead, Jim.
Have you ever thought about doing the little Soto Shuffle yourself, just as a little homage to the kid?
I mean, you got to be 20 years old raking to be able to do that.
It's true.
I don't have that in me. I liked it. I mean, I even told him, he would ask me, "You like it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I love it. I love it." I said, when you're 0 for 30, keep doing it though, because you're going to look really bad. And he's like, Mom, I'm not 0 for 30. I said, I hope you never do, kid, but it might come. But just remember to always keep doing it.
That's what I was gonna ask you about him, because I mean, you watch that guy play, and he's 20 years old. Is that what he is?
He turned 21 in October. Yeah.
So to do what he's been able to do is incredible. Because when I was 20 years old, when you were 20 years old, we were in the minor leagues, like just scrubs trying to make it. This guy is on the biggest stage, performing, doing the shuffle, then hitting a bomb off Verlander. I mean, like, just really living it up. Like, is he that good?
He is that good. I don't think he knows how good he is being that young and stuff. He's like super humble, got a good head on his shoulders, plays the game hard. They always told him that during spring training that you got to get better at your defense. You got to get better at your defense. And this guy, like, every single day, him and Bob Henley were out working the walls and working on strengthening his arm, because they were saying he had a bad arm and all this kind of stuff. So he's like, he knows what it takes to he don't want to be like a first baseman, at 22, when he can be a left fielder or just a DH somewhere or something. And he works his tail off, and he's really good.
It's good to hear.
He's got the most oppo juice I've seen in my big league career.
Wow.
So.
Damn.
I love oppo juice. You know that.
Yeah.
That's the real tell if someone has power.
It's a lot shorter just to pull it, but yeah. Pull it down the line.
if there's any story where Trevor can tell us about his oppo juice, it comes out pretty easily. I think there's an easy segue to be had there, because you go over this spring training to the Padres, and they've got a young dude who's pretty special himself, and Tatis, who you might be turning some stuff up the middle with. I guess we'll start there with him, but give us the whole Padres thing. You're at camp with them. How's it going? Who stands out? What's going on down there?
It's been good. I kind of got to camp about a week late, but I guess that doesn't matter anymore. But it was good. I was there for a few weeks. Tatis, an unbelievable talent. The guy, I mean, in all aspects. We'd be taking BP on the field, and you see all the old guys, me and Manny and Hosmer and stuff. We're in one group with Tatis, and the first 2 rounds we're just hitting ground balls, the other way, just to get the old balls loose. And his first 3 swings are like dead center, 450 foot home. We're like, geez, how do you do it, man? Just at least stretch a little bit. And he's young. He's just like Soto. He's got juice. He's got a cannon for an arm. One of the best, probably the best arm in the big leagues from the shortstop position. He's an unbelievable talent. Runs the bases really well, fast. He's a pretty special kid.
So go from the oldest to one of the youngest, right?
What's that?
Oldest average team to, I think Padres are one of the youngest teams in baseball.
Yeah, pretty much. I know I'm the second oldest guy on the team, which is kind of weird. Craig Stammen has me by a year or two. So that's, but yeah, I guess we are pretty young.
Give us. I gotta ask this because I get a lot of my knowledge from Phil Hughes and whose cards he's trying to keep. So he loves Fernando Tatis.
Yes.
He just bought a card the other day, and he told me how much he paid for it. I won't air it because he doesn't want me to. It's a lot for a baseball card.
You told me last night. Oh, I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Phil. Secret keeper. But, so you got Soto and Tatis. These are the guys for card collectors and also for baseball fans in general, the young guys who are kind of the next wave or the next faces of the game. So you've got to play with both of them. Who you got?
I think overall, Tatis throughout his career, he's going to be more probably impactful. And that's kind of tough for me to say. I mean, he's got to be really good because I played a whole season with Soto and haven't played yet outside spring training with Tatis. But he just, from the shorts, I really love shortstops that can play every day and still drop. I mean, he dropped 23 homers last year and 300 and something at bats. Unbelievable defense. I think he'll be a 30-30 guy easy. And doing that at the shortstop position is it puts it above for me.
Okay.
Who
I like that.
Who from the Padres? Because I think you start looking at this Padres lineup, and they're an up and coming team. We've heard about the farm system for a few years, and now the dudes are there. I mean, Tatis, we mentioned him. They signed Machado. A guy like Tommy Pham's come over. That's someone who baseball players know. On the pitching staff, I feel that's where it's a lot of young dudes with crazy talent. I don't know if you took live BP against any of them, or who's the guy that you walk past the clubhouse and you're like, that's a horse. Like, who from that young pitching staff are the dudes that people in baseball need to know?
You saw what Paddock can do last year. He's a frontline guy. He's really good. I faced this guy, Lamette, twice in BP, live BP. I played behind him twice. And I'm telling you, this guy's from the swings and misses. I know it's spring. Hitters are a little bit behind and everything, but this guy's stuff is sick.
Yeah.
I mean, he sits 97, 98 with his slider's like 88 to 92. A great changeup. I mean, he's got really good stuff, and he controls it. It's not like, hey, just throw it across the middle of the plate, and he controls it. I didn't really know much about him coming in, and then throughout the spring, people seeing and doing my homework and all this stuff on the guy. I think he's the guy to watch.
All right, jot him down. This was your first spring in Arizona? Is that correct?
First one, yeah.
Did you enjoy it more? We always hear it's better because everything's closer and all that.
I'm going to be honest with you. I've heard it my whole career how much Arizona is better. I'm not buying it.
Wow.
The Twins have a pretty nice setup. We were there.
I felt the same way.
Yeah. I think it's just Fort Myers was great. Everyone doesn't like the traveling, but I feel like when you get a little older and stuff, you don't ever travel. You might every now and then in Florida. So when you stay back, you have pretty much an off day. You just take BP if you want some grounders or whatever, and you get out. You're back by like 11, 12 at the latest. Here, Arizona, there's no off days. Everyone always practice until right up to game time. And it's kind of draining. And then, there's nicer restaurants and stuff probably, but I think golf's better in Florida. I don't know. My wife and I feel the same. We think Florida's better.
I think Trev was saying the same thing about off days. We did a whole episode on spring training didn't you say the same thing, Trev, that Florida, you get those off days if you don't travel, so it's actually better? Yeah,
that's exactly what I said. It's like Dozier was talking about in Arizona, you're all together every day. So you're doing the PFPs, you're going through BP, you're doing anything, all the extra work every single day. And like he's saying, in Florida, when you have that off day, you're going to have the off day. So you can, if you want to get a little salty the night before and have some drinks, you're showing up, you're just going to get a little bit of work and then you're back. You can go golfing, go fishing. Not a lot of fishing in Arizona, which, that's a big plus for Florida as well, because every single place has a pond. And you just got to throw the watermelon lizard right in there, jerk some lips. But I felt the same way. Like everyone always says Arizona, Arizona, Arizona. But we had a pretty good place in Florida, so I think that's has something to do with it as well.
Right.
I love when Trevor gets his fishing content in, because he likes to remind us that he's not just a straight LA Cali boy, that he can cast some lines. And he threw on his St. Patty's camo for you because he said you're a hunter, right?
I am a hunter, yes.
Okay, what are we hunting?
We hunt a lot of ducks and deer.
Okay.
Pretty much anything but ducks and deer is kind of.
You can't go right now, right? Like it's not hunting season.
It's not hunting season. Oh. It's not nothing. Turkey hunting. So my wife will let me get out of the house and at least just go in the woods. I'll do some turkey hunting.
Is that all year long? Is there anything you can hunt all year?
No, nothing. Everything has a season. They put those in just to kind of regulate everyone killing a bunch of animals. So
I feel like quarantine life is just no rules. You can go hunt if you need to.
Survive.
It's to survive. Yeah,
that is true.
Just dragging a deer, feeding the family.
Feeding the family. I got to go out and take care of some business. Come back with a deer.
Yeah, stay away from the markets, baby.
Oh gosh.
Do you have any hunting buddies in baseball? Like any teammates that would go out with you?
Josh Willingham, we used to go a lot when we were in Minnesota together. We went. We had this guy that would let us deer hunt his property and turkey hunt. That's where I killed a turkey actually with Josh. There's a lot of Gordon Beckham's another one, which he got released just right before we came back with the Padres. But him and I have never been together, but we talk a lot of hunting together. We're going to try to do
Keep it hunting.
Yeah, so it's always just a good thing, especially in the off season, just to kind of get away. And I'm not even mad at them anymore as far as deer or ducks. I just go to kind of drink some bourbon around the campfire and hang out and stuff. So
I've had your venison before. You cooked it for us in spring training.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. Like, that's not something I grew up eating, but you put some jalapenos and some cheese in there, and we were rocking it all day.
Oh yeah. Got a bunch of my friends. I'll send some out. If I take some beer, I'll send some out too.
Okay.
I got to ask about the 2017 wild card game. I don't know if you know, we're Yankees fans, so I'm not. But you led off that game with a home run. Is that one of the wildest? Is that one of the wildest first innings of baseball you've been part of? And then also, how'd that lead off home run in a do or die game feel?
It's unbelievable. I actually had leading up to that, how cool it'd be to lead off the game with a home run. And sure enough, it happened. I've never seen a stadium become so loud to become so quiet and then back to being the loudest I've ever heard in a span of 20 minutes. I mean, because after we put up 3 in the first inning, you could hear a pin drop. And then Didi comes back in the bottom of the first and hits the 3-run homer. And that's the loudest stadium I've heard to today. And probably one of the best atmospheres too.
Yeah, it was a true zoo back in that playoff run for the Yankees in 2017. That Didi home run was insane.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That whole first inning.
And they took off, and Irvin couldn't find the strike zone, and we played bad defense behind him. We couldn't hit, and they ran off.
Do you haven't been in the 1-game playoff? I know there's been some talk about it, trying to expand that, and it's from a fan's perspective, it's incredible. If you're
not rooting for one of the 2 teams in it,
yeah. But it's also, I mean, it really doesn't make sense because we play 162 to bring it to 1 game. Where if someone has a bad day, like you said, Irvin couldn't find the zone, there goes our season. Are you a fan of going 3-game wild card or something like that?
Yeah, I think 3-game sets are better. Just the overall picture, because that's what we play the whole year. Why we never play 1 game? We do a 3-set or 3-game set. Whether it's the wild card, whether you have to do even the division series or something. If you want to put more 3 games for the wild card or something, 3-game sets are great. Nothing should be decided, in my opinion, of 1 game because it's just not really. It's not really baseball. I mean, bringing up the 17 wild card game, I mean, you saw, they started, what's his face? What was the guy?
Severino.
Name? Yeah, Severino.
What's his face?
He threw a third of an inning.
Yeah.
Green comes in and throws 2 innings. Baton comes in and throws 2 innings. Robertson throws 2 innings. And then Chapman. So it's I get it's all hands on deck, but I think it's a better way of doing it to kind of actually have starters throwing and doing all that.
Yeah, because it's a whole different brand of baseball from everything else.
Right. So.
And you were part of another wild card. This past season, where you guys.
Oh my gosh!
Now another crazy game with a wild ending, and then you take that and go all the way on. Was that game the similar vibe? Because Nationals fans, let me tell you this, I appreciate. I'm not trying to be mean, but they get down in the dumps quicker than any other fan base I've seen. When you guys were down in that Nationals game, they were crying in the stands.
It was bad. It was. They were pumped at the beginning, and then I think we got behind 3-1. I think that's what it was. And then I don't know if they knew Hader was coming in and he was been lights out or something. I don't know, but it was And then obviously talking about Juan Soto battling Hader, which was pretty special. Yeah. And then, we got lucky with the right fielder making a mistake and being able to score a few runs. But Soto, man, lefty, righty, whatever it is, he's pretty good.
That was a crazy at-bat that he put together right there.
Well, that at-bat's the age-old question. You got a high fastball hitter and a high fastball thrower, and it's my pitch versus your swing, and they match up. It's like, should Hader have gone something different? Or that's kind of like that steps in, and anyone who knows those behind-the-scenes facts is like, oh, shit, here we go.
Right? Soto's low ball hitter to me too, and I mean
he can hit everything.
Yeah,
fair. That's fair.
When he comes up, it's like, certain guys are like, okay, like I like him in this situation. I think we got a chance. And obviously he's like one of those guys 99% of the time. But when he's walking up against a lefty like that strikes everybody out, it's like, are you that confident in Soto? And then he puts that at bat together, and it's like forever you're just going to say, if Soto's up, we got a chance.
If Soto's up, you got a chance. I mean, but I think from what I remember, the middle of the summer, they were talking about how he hits lefties better than righties. I don't know any stats on that or anything, but it always seemed like he raked lefties. But one thing with me, man, Trev, when you see a young guy getting on base at over a 40% clip throughout the whole year, I mean, the guy, I don't know, his eyes are exceptional. It's pretty special.
That's kind of what I think when I think about him hitting. It's like his ability to control the strike zone at a young age, because that's like that's the hardest thing to do when you're young. Is you get up there, guys want you to expand the zone, and you do, and you have to be able to like rein that in. But him, it's like he's got that already, and I don't know what he did when he was younger to hone that skill, but like he should let that cat out of the bag and tell everybody, because it's incredible.
Pretty good.
Yeah, he's a little 977 OPS versus righties, 849 versus lefties, but still, again, at where he's at in his career, I mean that's silly.
Both good.
I want to clear the air for Doge, because a lot of Yankees fans listen to this pod.
There we go.
And so you not knowing who Severino is, they're probably gonna be like mad,
it was his rookie season.
It was yeah.
I'm just saying, it's not far-fetched for Doge, because I have a funny story about Doge's baseball knowledge.
Here we go.
We were on the bus. And
hey, hold on, before he tells this, I grew up only knowing the Atlanta Braves. Like, I couldn't tell you anything else.
You will never get an argument out of us, because we grew up only knowing the Yankees, and now we're doing all these videos. We're watching the 1970s World Series, and everyone in the comments is like, how do you not know who random Dodger from the 70s?
You don't know Steve Garvey? And it's like, sorry, he played before I was alive.
So we're with you.
Okay, I'm glad you guys prefaced it.
Go ahead, Trev. And it was my rookie year, and I didn't know much, so go ahead.
This is a Major League Baseball player, right? This is his profession. And we were on the bus, and somehow it kind of gets brought up that, Brian's like knowledge of like teams and stuff isn't great. So I don't know who was on the mic, but we bring Doge up and start going over teams. We're like, Doge, all right, let's name the divisions. Like, who's in this division? And so the Astros get brought up, and he's like kind of sitting there like, come on, man. Like they just recently moved into this division. They were in the NL before.
Trick question.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are they, like, in the AL South or something? And we're like, no, that's not a division. So
if it was a division, they would be in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. If that existed, they would be in there. So I'm with you.
Oh, that's so funny. I forgot about that. Thank you, Trev.
Thank you for the
We're not going to hold
reminder.
it against you.
Yeah, I mean, we're deep into this internet world now, and it's so brutal, because, I mean, coming up now, especially like with the AAU generation and all that, like, if you play baseball, you don't really have time to watch baseball. So I mean, there's a lot of dudes nowadays, and I'm actually glad guys are being more open about it. When we talked to Flaherty the other day, I was like, because I just know being in St. Louis and being a pitcher, like they start asking him questions about Bob Gibson, and I was like, "What's your answer?" And he said, "Yeah, I tell him I see the highlights, but I don't know Bob Gibson. You know, I never watched a Bob Gibson game." So I think you're good there, and I think you. I was gonna. God, I'm just so good at segues now that I keep saying segues. When you're in free agency this year, and you and Bob Gibson get brought up a lot, because were you telling teams that you could throw the pill a little bit?
That I could what?
That you could throw the pill a little bit, because you got on the mound last year, right?
Negative. I did get on the mound, but I cannot throw the pill.
What was it like? Were you asking for that, or how'd that go down?
Yeah, I think it's a dream for any position player to be able to get on the mound, right? And you just never know if it's ever going to happen. And so Davey, we're getting murdered by the Diamondbacks, and Parr comes up and walks 4 straight guys. He's trying to throw 90 and whatever. Walks 4 straight guys, and Davey's in the dugout. We look at each other, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm like, well, "Hell yeah, I'm good for sure." And so he comes to the mound. He's like, "Parr, that's enough." And he's like, "Anybody want to pitch?" And then Rendon was like, "Yeah." And I was like, No. I'm the oldest guy here.
Nice.
You're not asking. I'm getting on the mound." And he's like, "All right, let's go." And I think the first guy, I gave up an infield single, pop up. And sure enough, one of my best friends in the game, Eduardo Escobar, comes up. He's laughing. And it's such a cool photo. I got it, getting it framed and putting it in my house, of a shot of me. Actually, when I'm releasing the ball, I'm laughing. He's got a smile on his face as the ball's coming. And Kurt Suzuki, who was also our teammate in Minnesota, he's laughing through his mask like this. It's an amazing picture, all captured in one frame. And then he hits a freaking 400-foot homer off of me. And the funny thing is, you got to know Eduardo. He's very appreciative, and he can get serious sometimes. And even though he's kind of funny and really funny, he was cooking for me arepas that night. So we go over to his house. And every 5 minutes, he's like, "My brother, seriously, man, thank you for throwing. I needed home run right there." Like the whole time, every 5 minutes, "Thank you, my brother, thank you, man." And I'm like, "Okay, yes."
Did you mess around with a second pitch?
Yeah, what's your pitch mix?
So is the first pitch I grooved one is high for a ball. And I was like, I want to throw my knuckleball or a curveball or something. I was like, let me just get one strike on him, because I did not want to walk him or get 2-0 and then have to. So I was like, so I tried to pump it up just a little bit, just hoping he would take his middle in, right in his wheelhouse. And I didn't even look. I knew it was a homer, and he's looking at me.
You end up getting outs eventually? Or did you
I got 3 outs.
There you go.
But he cleared the bases. I think it was a 3-run pump. So
on the home run, did you throw your hand up? Like, who's got it?
Fly ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did not.
Yeah, there it is. Go get it. It's great.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so good experience.
That's funny.
You got to get all the
for it to
positions
happen and beat Escobar is like the funniest thing.
Oh my God.
Like your guys' relationship, and then for Kurt to be back there, everything to come full circle was hilarious. I mean, I remember watching it, being like, "This is, you can't script something like this."
I know. You know how
he went way back on you. It wasn't like
way back. Well, you know how he does. Before he touches home plate, he does his little tap. Yeah, and Suzuki is standing. I don't know if you saw it, but when he's coming home to home plate, Suzuki's standing on home plate going, just telling him. And so Esky was like, he said after he didn't want to show me up. I'm like, dude, I was yelling at him around the bases. And he's like, "I'm sorry if I showed you up." And I'm like, "What? No, I love it."
The fact he cooked you dinner later that night is, that's as good as it gets. That's baseball.
His wife did. Yeah.
Well, counts.
Yeah.
Counts. All in the family. All in the family. Well,
rape us too, obviously.
I don't know. You got anything for us, Doge? You got anything for Plouffe? You wanna throw him under the bus real quick, like he did telling that story about you, or what?
I don't have much of Plouffe. Plouffe's like just a Cali, good-looking guy. Not many faults. He's very knowledgeable about the game of baseball, unlike myself.
That's the first compliment I've ever gotten from Doge. That's really nice. This is
definitely outkicked his covers with his wife. Yeah. She's an angel.
I tell everyone that.
But no, I don't have too much on Plouffe.
Thanks, man. Thanks for sitting down and joining us.
We're good. Bring baseball back. Thank you. If you could do that.
Oh yeah, let's do that. What's your prediction? Give me your prediction of when we're going to be back.
Is this for media purposes, or do you mean be honest with you guys?
We'll do the honest.
Be honest. Everyone's being honest.
I'm always honest. I personally don't think. A part of me says we don't play baseball this year, and the other part says there's going to be like just something at the very end with like a month of baseball, 3 doubleheaders a week, expanded rosters, try to get in as much as possible, and then have it like a shortened playoff or a longer playoff, and more teams make something condensed within a month, if it even happens. So that's what I personally think. I keep training as if we're going to start, next month, but I don't know. I think it's too serious of a matter that it's not looking good.
Yeah, the reports that were coming out today from Jeff Passan are talking about, or was it Passan or Passan? I don't know, whatever.
Passan.
He said they're still trying to get 162 games in. They want to play 2 doubleheaders a week. I'm like, players are not going to want to play 2 doubleheaders a week unless you expand the rosters 27, 28 guys, because you can't. I mean, you literally can't do that.
Even then, the math doesn't add up. What he said, because they said they were going to start mid-June and do 162, and it just doesn't add up.
I'm going to stick by my guns. I'm going to say July, right around the All-Star break.
That's what I think.
They're going to try to get 100 games in if they can, and the playoffs will be pushed back a little bit, and it'll be a neutral site for a lot of the games because it'll be freaking cold everywhere. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
I mean, our union's so good and stuff, and I know they're trying to hammer out stuff with service time and salaries, and that's a whole different thing, especially with our CBA ending this year. So that's another whole thing that it's not getting brought up that much. So it's bad timing for all this, but we'll see.
Gas on the fire.
All right, man. Well, thanks for coming.
This was awesome, man. Thank you.
All right, guys. I appreciate it.
Be good.
All right.
See you guys.
Peace out.
Thank you.